Ever been stuck in the command line, maybe wrestling with some code, and just wished, man, if I only had an AI assistant right here? Well, guess what? That's uh that's becoming real.
It really is. And a big part of that is this thing called the Model Context Protocol, MCP for
All
short.
right, MCP.
Yeah, think of it like a common language. It lets different AI models talk to each other and, crucially, talk to different tools.
hmm
That's really the key to unlocking AI right there in your terminal.
Exactly. And that's precisely what we're diving into today. We've gone through a bunch of research on these command line AI chat clients, specifically ones compatible with Linux and built around this MCP idea.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission really is to boil it down for you. We want to give you the essential info on the top players, especially looking at tools using the new Claude 3.7 model via CLI, and importantly, at least one that lets you use local open source models for coding.
Yeah, because we know folks listening come from all sorts of technical backgrounds. So the goal is to break these down, make them understandable, but still offer that depth for, the experienced devs listening. Useful for everyone curious about boosting their command line skills with AI.
Totally. We've picked out 5 key clients to explore. There's Claude Code, which is Anthropic's own coding assistant.
Yep.
Then MC-Pomomni Connect, which is an open source option. ChatMCP, that's a cross-platform one. MCP-CLI, a more minimalist tool.
From Krishaoki.
Right? And finally, OTerm, which is all about local models using a llama. So think of this as your fast track to understanding the command line AI landscape right now without drowning in tech specs.
Sounds good. Where should we start? Claude Code.
Let's do it. Claude Code. So this is Anthropic's official CLI, powered by their Claude 3.7 Sonnet model.
And the big thing here, I think, is its agentic nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just chatting. It's designed to do things in your terminal
Yeah.
specifically for coding tasks.
Mhm. Right. Agentic is the word. It's more than just asking it for code snippets. It has built-in tools, right? Like it can edit files directly.
Yeah, edit files, run shell commands, run your tests, even handle Git stuff like commits and merges.
Wow. So you could literally type something like, fix the type errors in the auth module.
Pretty much. It would figure out what to do, suggest the changes or actions, and then wait for your OK before it actually executes them.
That's cool. And it supports MCP, too, for external tools.
Absolutely. Full MCP support. You use
Yeah.
the MCP command, and you can connect it to external servers for, say, web searches or hitting a database.
Hmm.
Really extends what it can do beyond just the code on your machine.
Okay, so what's it like to actually use? Is it fast, slow?
Well, the research suggests it's actually very fast for simple queries, like near-instant responses.
Nice.
But if you give it something trickier, a complex coding problem, it kicks into this extended reasoning mode. You can sort of see it thinking step by step, which naturally takes a bit longer.
Okay, that makes sense.
But overall, the interactive experience is described as really snappy. The main delays are just during that deeper analysis. And it streams everything, its thoughts, the answers. So you're not just sitting there waiting.
And the context window, that's a big deal with Claude 3.7, isn't it?
Yeah. Massive. 200,000 tokens.
200K. So you could practically load like entire code bases into it.
Essentially, yes. Which means it can reason about your project much more holistically, understand connections across different parts of the code.
That's a game changer. And it's smart about it. It doesn't just need you to manually feed it files.
No, exactly. If you ask something like, explain how our authentication works, it's designed to automatically figure out which files are relevant to authentication and include those in the context for the prompt.
Clever. How does it manage all that context then? Does it just keep growing forever?
It has tools for that. There's a compact command to summarize the history if it gets too long. And it can use memory files like a claude.md file in your project to keep track of important context across different sessions. And here's a really smart bit. When it does that extended thinking, those internal thought process tokens, they call them scratchpad tokens, they get automatically excluded from the context for the next turn. So it doesn't clutter up your history or cost you tokens for its internal workings.
Oh, that is clever. Saves tokens.
Definitely. And performance-wise, for coding, Claude 3.7 is top tier. It's been specifically optimized for real-world stuff. Understanding code, debugging, generating multi-file diffs, writing unit tests. It holds its own against the best out there.
And it's agentic, but you're still in charge.
Exactly. Human in the loop. It suggests actions. Should I edit this file? Should I run these tests? But it always needs your explicit approval before it does anything.
Good. No rogue AI messing with my code.
Right. It's not like some multi-agent system coordinating lots of AIs. It's one agent using tools with you giving the green light.
What about the cost? That huge context must cost something.
It does. It's API token-based. Roughly 3 per $1 million input tokens and 15 per $1 million output tokens.
Per million. So
Yeah.
small cost per token, but
But yeah, with a 200K context window
eh.
and potentially verbose outputs when generating code or explanations, the costs could add up, especially in large projects.
Yeah.
You need to be mindful.
Is there a way to track that?
Yep. There's a cost command built right in so you can see your usage in real time.
Handy. Okay. Requirements. What do I need to run it?
Pretty standard stuff, mostly. Node.js, version 18 or higher. An Anthropic API account, obviously.
Right.
OS-wise, Linux Ubuntu 20.04 or Debian 10 and up, Mac OS, or Windows, but using WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux.
Okay. RAM.
They recommend at least 4 gigs, and you need internet, of course.
Right.
It's connecting to Anthropic's cloud model. It doesn't run locally.
Gotcha. Cloud only. And latency. You said it's generally fast?
Very low latency for simple things, almost instant.
Hmm.
The delays only really come in during that extended thinking, or if it's doing a lengthy operation like analyzing a huge chunk of code.
Yeah.
But the streaming helps make it feel responsive even then.
So, bottom line on context. It's huge. You probably won't hit the limit often, but it prioritizes keeping everything unless you tell it to compact using compact.
Exactly. It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Maximum context awareness versus actively managing your token burn rate.
Makes sense. Okay, let's switch gears. MC-Pomni Connect. This one sounds different, more open.
Yeah, it's open source, and its whole thing is versatility.
Yeah.
It's designed as a hub, basically, to connect to multiple MCP servers all at the same time.
Multiple. Okay, so like a control panel for different AI tools?
Precisely. It can manage tools, resources, prompts, how the AI generates responses all through MCP. And it can trigger actions via those servers, running shell commands, messing with files, making web requests, calling APIs.
And it works for interactive chat and like an autonomous agent.
Both, yes. Chat mode and an agent mode. And it's built for speed. Uses efficient streaming, standard I/O, or SSC.
SSC, server sent events.
Yeah, the web tech for real-time data.
Yeah.
So you get that instant feedback, even with powerful models like GPT-4. Agent mode might pause for a beat while it plans complex multi-step things, but the execution itself is meant to be quick.
How does it handle context if it can connect to like GPT-4 and Claude, which have totally different limits?
That's where it gets clever. It has dynamic context management. It figures out the limits of whatever model you're actually using at that moment and adapts. Plus, it uses techniques like intelligent context pruning and relevance filtering to make the best use of that window without overflowing it.
So it's actively trimming less important stuff.
Exactly. It's not just blindly filling the context.
Right.
And it can even hook into external long-term memory systems like Redis.
Redis for memory.
Yeah, to kind of simulate an even larger context. It can stash less immediately relevant stuff there, summarize things automatically, keep the core context clean and efficient.
That sounds pretty sophisticated. And it works with different models. OpenAI, Anthropic.
Totally model agnostic. OpenAI, Anthropic, supposedly Google Gemini too, eventually. So the coding skill you get really just depends on which model you plug in. Use GPT-4, Claude 3.x, you get state-of-the-art coding help.
So it's like a future-proof hub for whatever the best model is.
That seems to be the idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Avoids vendor lock-in. And it has pretty advanced agent features too. A React agent mode, an orchestrator mode for complex tasks. It can autonomously string together tool calls.
Autonomously. Does it ask first?
You can configure it either way.
Yeah.
Fully autonomous or require user approval at each step. Flexibility again.
And the cost. Open source means free.
The software itself is free, yes. No license cost. Your costs are purely the token and compute charges from whatever back-end model provider you connect to.
So if I connect it to a local model,
Then potentially zero cost, exactly. If you run, say, an Llama model locally and have an MCP server for it, MC-Pomni Connect talks to it, no external API fees.
cool. What do I need to set it up?
It's Python-based, so a Python environment, installable via pip, Python 3. Then you need access to the MCP servers for the tools you want that it might mean needing Node.js or Docker for some of them.
Okay.
Redis is optional just for that long-term memory feature. And yeah, if you want local LLMs, you'd need something like a Llama running. So it talks mainly to cloud models, but can talk to local servers if they speak MCP or the OpenAI API format.
And performance, latency-wise?
Chat should be very responsive, minimal overhead, feels like talking directly to the API. The agent modes might have that slight planning delay up front for complex sequences, but otherwise pretty quick.
And context is smart uses the full window but prunes it, plus optional external memory. Sounds efficient.
Yeah, it seems designed to handle context intelligently without you having to constantly babysit it.
Okay, interesting contrast to Claude Code. Let's look at Chat MCP next. This one has a UI, even graphical.
Yep, CLI or GUI, and a big feature is its built-in MCP server market.
A market, like an app store for tools.
Kind of, yeah. Makes finding and installing MCP tools much easier. Apparently, it can even auto-install and pick the right tool based on what you ask it.
Whoa, okay. That sounds really user-friendly.
That seems to be the goal. Plus, file I/O, web browsing via MCP servers, and it's properly cross-platform. Linux, macOS, Windows, even mobile, Android, and iOS.
Mobile too, wow. Performance. How does a Flutter app compare?
Reports say it's pretty good. Efficient Flutter Dart build uses SSE streaming. So responsiveness should be decent, similar to cloud APIs or, depending on your local model speed if you go that route.
How does it handle context? Does it have those smarts like MC-Pomni Connect?
Not so much. Based on the research, it seems to rely more directly on the model's own context window limit.
Oh,
So with Claude's huge window, it's fine for long chats. But if you're using a local model with maybe only 4K tokens, you'll hit that limit faster and need to manage it more, like starting new chats. It does have scrollable, savable history, but no automatic compression or summarization built in.
but it is flexible with models, right? OpenAI, Anthropic, Ollama.
Yeah, very flexible. OpenAI GPTs, Claude, local models via Ollama, and also DeepSeek models. So again, coding quality depends on what you hook it up to. The app itself provides the easy interface to switch between them.
Any agent stuff, multi-step tasks.
It's more straightforward. Single conversational agent. It can use MCP tools one at a time, and it does that clever auto selection if you have multiple tools installed that could handle your request.
Yeah.
But no complex multi-agent orchestration like MC-Pomni Connect.
Cost. Is the app free?
The app itself is free, Apache 2.0 license. But you pay standard rates if you use OpenAI or Anthropic APIs through it.
And local is free, token-wise?
Right. Though, one thing to note, if it auto-selects a tool that itself calls an external, potentially paid API, you might incur costs there.
Ah, good point. System requirements. Is Flutter heavy?
Seems designed to be pretty lightweight. Runs on most modern systems, Linux, Windows, macOS, Android, iOS. Linux needs libsclite 3.0. If you use local models, you need whatever Ollama requires. But otherwise, standard PC specs for a modern app. And it supports both remote APIs and local inference.
Latency sounds okay. Quick with cloud, slow or local.
Yeah, moderate. Pretty fast with cloud APIs, maybe a second or two for the first token.
Yeah.
Slower with local models, especially on CPU. The auto tool selection seems to add negligible overhead.
But context is basically what the model gives you. User has to manage it, especially on smaller models.
That seems to be the gist of it, yes. Simple reliance on the model's window.
Okay. Moving on to MCP CLI. This sounds like the opposite end of the spectrum minimalist.
Very much so. It's a Python CLI tool, super lightweight. The whole idea is simplicity. Connect to one chosen MCP server at a time and interact.
One server only. Okay. What can it do?
Basic/commands like tools to see what's available on that server, history for the conversation, and executing tool calls, obviously.
Yeah.
You can talk to your file system via a specific file system server or other tools, but yeah, one server connection at a time, pure terminal.
And performance. Lightweight usually means fast.
Exactly. Negligible overhead. If you're using OpenAI, it's basically API speed. If you're using a local Ollama model, MCP CLI doesn't slow it down. Streams output token by token. Very quick startup for the servers, too.
How does this minimalist tool handle context? Does it even try?
Nope. It takes the simplest approach. It just relies entirely on whatever context window the connected model has. No summarization, no fancy management.
So if the chat gets too long...
You hit the limit. You need to manually trim it. It gives you commands like conversation to view it and clear screen context to basically start fresh. Manual context management?
Encoding help. Again, just depends on the model plugged in.
Entirely. Connected to a basic local code model, you get basic help. Connected to GPT-4 via an MCP server, you get GPT-4 level help. The CLI itself is just the pipe.
No autonomous agents here, I assume?
Definitely not. It's
Yeah.
very single-turn focused.
Yeah.
The LLM can call a tool within its response, but that's it. No planning, no chaining tools together automatically. You have to guide it step by step for anything complex.
Cost. Free and open source.
Yep. No cost for the tool. Token costs only apply if you connect it to a paid API like OpenAI's. Local models via Ollama are free, and it's apparently pretty token efficient, adds very little prompt overhead.
Requirements, Python and Arrow.
Python 3.8 or newer, and Node.js is also needed. Install involves cloning the repo and maybe installing something called the UV tool runner. It supports both local, Ollama, and remote, like OpenAI models. You tell it which one to use.
Performance sounds great. Basically, model speed plus streaming. Context is purely manual. Simple.
Simple, fast, lightweight. That's the pitch. You manage the context, it just connects you.
All right, last one, O-term. This is specifically for Llama, right? Local model.
Exactly. O-term Llama Terminal. It's a text-based terminal chat client built specifically for local LLMs running via Llama, but with MCP tool support baked in.
So local AI plus tools, like a file system access.
Yep. Full access to MCP tools and prompts. You can do file operations, run code snippets, whatever tools you have MCP servers for, but powered by your local LLM. It even lets you create custom chat commands tied to specific tools or system prompts.
Custom commands. Interesting. Anything else unique?
It supports pixel graphics, believe it or not, so you can get inline images right in your terminal if the model generates them.
The images in the terminal, okay.
And multitasking, you can run multiple chat sessions concurrently, each independent.
Performance must be totally dependent on your hardware then.
Absolutely. The client itself is light. The bottleneck is your local model inference speed. Runs way better on a good GPU or Apple Silicon. Supports quantized models too, which helps on less beefy machines.
And context. Limited by these local models, I guess.
Yeah, most open source models Llama runs have smaller context windows, often 2K to 4K tokens, maybe 8K for some newer ones. O-term doesn't do automatic summarization.
So manual management again?
Pretty much. You manage it or reset the context. The multiple chat sessions help, though you can keep different topics or projects in separate contexts easily.
What about coding ability, these local models? How good are they?
Generally moderate is the consensus. Models like Code Llama Wizard Coder is decent, good for smaller projects, common tasks, but probably not quite at the level of Claude 3.7 or GPT-4 for really complex stuff. The big plus is you can easily swap models out, a Llama pool new model, and it's great for self-hosted help on smaller code bases.
Any agent features?
No multi-agent stuff.
Yeah.
It's a single terminal assistant. It can execute tools sequentially if you ask it to, but it needs your confirmation each time. Parallel sessions are independent, no coordination.
And the cost. Got a zero API cost, right?
Exactly. Running locally means no token fees for the LLM. The only cost is your electricity and hardware use.
But tools might cost.
If you connect it via MCP to an online tool server that has its own limits or fees, then yes, potentially. But for local file access or running local code, no extra cost.
System requirements. Llama is the big one.
Yep. Need Llama installed, plus the model files themselves. Runs on Mac OS and Linux. Limited windows via WSL. Needs enough RAM and VRAM for the model you choose. Bigger models need more. And disk space for the models. But crucially, no internet needed for the core LLM chat part.
Ah, so true offline capability. Privacy focused.
That's a major selling point. It doesn't phone home to OpenAI or Anthropic. Your data stays local.
Latency. Probably noticeable on CPU.
Definitely noticeable on CPU.
Yeah.
Much better on GPU. It streams the output, which helps. Tool execution adds its own delay. But yeah, generally slower than using a premium cloud API on average.
And context is small. Manual control. Limited window.
Limited by the model, managed by you. You feed it conversation up to the limit, then decide whether to clear it or start a new chat.
Okay, wow, that's quite a tour. So looking back at all five, it really paints a picture of trade-offs, doesn't it? Cloud power versus local control.
Absolutely. And each one has its niche, its unique strength.
Yeah.
Claude Code. Seamless, powerful Anthropic coding in the terminal.
Right. MC-Pomni Connect, the super versatile hub for tools and complex agent tasks.
Chat MCP, user-friendly, cross-platform, easy tool discovery with that marketplace.
MCP CLI? Dead simple, minimalist, flexible for local or remote.
And O-term, the fully local, private, offline capable option using Llama.
So for you listening, thinking about efficiency and getting knowledge faster, these tools really offer ways to embed AI right into where you work, into that command line environment. It could genuinely streamline things.
The question for you then becomes, what do you prioritize? Is it Claude-specific coding skill? Is it connecting tons of tools and doing complex agent stuff? Is it just ease of use across devices?
Yeah.
Or is local control and privacy the absolute must-have?
Yeah, lots to consider based on your own workflow. And it makes you wonder, as this stuff gets more integrated, more common in the command line, how does that fundamentally change how we interact with our machines, how we code?
It's a huge question. We're really just seeing the beginning of this shift.
Mm-hmm.
The potential is massive, but how it plays out, that's going to be fascinating to watch.
Definitely something to mull over. We hope this deep dive gave you a solid map of the current landscape.
Yeah, definitely encourage you to explore maybe one or two that caught your eye. We'd love to hear about your experiences if you do try them out any questions that come up.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for taking this dive with us today.
Until next time.